My name is Niranjana Radhakrishnan. I am an electronics engineer, and I have completed my master's and bachelor's from India in electronics engineering. And I'm currently working on a PhD degree from RMIT University. My main focus is on electronics and electrical engineering, and I am currently working on an area called spectrum prediction. It is related to telecommunications engineering, where I try to build artificially intelligent models that predict bandwidth usage. And so I have been with the RMIT University as a student for the past 2 years, and my main job at RMIT includes identifying my research problem, working with my supervisor in developing research questions, and then proposing solutions, doing a thorough review of the existing literature. And then I also work on some softwares and tools to develop these models. And I also have to interpret the results I get and perform some analysis methodologies. I write these results and observations up and eventually publish it in a journal or in a magazine, or present it in front of a panel and get it approved. So this is a 4-year program, and I'll be working on some research questions and developing solutions, then publishing my results. And yeah, that pretty much sums up my work. And it's fundamentally research, and it's related to technology development. So I have always been interested towards science and math and technology. So right from my year 5, year 6, around that time, we used to have a lot of competitions, debates, and quiz competitions, a lot of extracurricular activities in school. And I would always join the science and math competitions, sometimes win, sometimes I would just do the projects. So it was always exciting for me, and I also understood science and maths well. So the natural interest was always there with me, and that kind of guided me to make my decisions at important junctures in life. So when I was in year 12, I had a lot of interest towards physics, and because of that, I would think up some problems on my own, do all sorts of reading. So because of that interest, I joined an undergrad course in electronics engineering, and that took 4 years, and I was exposed to a lot of different areas in electronics engineering. And at the end of 4 years, I had either I could either go for a job, get some experience and exposure, or I could specialize in any one of the areas that I was exposed to in my college education. So I went with the second option. I joined a wonderful organization for my master's program. I spent 2 years there, and I specialized in something called systems engineering. I did some amazing projects. I got a lot of learning and a lot of exposure to different tools and softwares. So that was a very transformative set of years for me. And after my master's, I felt that now it's time to join a company or an organization and work on some real world projects. So I started working as a research fellow in a lab in India. And after around 1 year, I got this opportunity to do a PhD at RMIT. And then I shifted from India to Melbourne, and it's been 2 years since that. So my parents, my family, they are in India. They live in India, and I got married in between. And so my husband lives. We both live here together. So those two things kind of happened together. Joining for my PhD and also marriage. So yeah, that's how it happened. Like I said, I was always interested in science, technology, maths. Up until maybe 2 years ago, I didn't work with a solid plan. Before that, I would always just go with my gut, go with my heart, and just follow the interests that I had. And I would ask my friends or teachers for some guidance. But other than that, I didn't have a lot of plans set out. But when I look back, I feel like maybe if I had some solid plan, I could have achieved. I mean, I could have done something better. But being an engineer was always the plan. That because of my interests, because of my natural inclination, it was always the plan. But at important junctures in life, I decided to do in a certain way because I felt that that is what is necessary at that point, and that would benefit me for my future. So yeah, now I do a lot more planning, like what do I want to, where do I want to be in the next year, and what all skills do I want to have. So now there's a lot more thought process as I have grown within the field, grown up actually. So I feel it's an ongoing process. What I would be doing next is I really want to have some industry experience. So I would like to work as an industry professional for a couple of years and maybe use that experience and perhaps come back to academia or something like that. So that's a very vague plan that I have for the 5-10 years ahead of me. But Yeah, I think I mean, it's an ongoing process. So being a researcher, you have to have all these essential degrees that you have. So after PhD, you get all these different skills, and then you can, get the real world, get some experience, and then finally come back to academia. So I feel like once I join an organization, that's when I would have, kind of established that career. But it's not a one shot kind of a process. I feel it's an ongoing, it's an evolving process. So to answer your question, yes, I feel that I have reached somewhere, but uh, yeah, so I'd like to join an organization and then perhaps come back as a researcher. The main change I feel like what has happened is in terms of female participation, but it's not really something that I can generalize because I have been exposed to different couple of countries and different cities in my own country. So maybe I cannot generalize it, but I can tell in my own perspective. So when I was in undergrad, there were a lot of female population in my class. My teachers, there were a lot of women as my professors, my lecturers, and non-technical staff as well. But when I joined for my master's, there were very few number of women in my class, in my entire department. I didn't have any female professor or lecturer at the time. So that was a bit of a high reduction in female participation. And that also somehow subconsciously affected me or the other women in class because we were a minority there. But luckily, we had each other. We were all very supportive to each other, and we learned a lot through the experience. When I came to Melbourne, I feel it's a lot sunnier here. I mean, in terms of the environment, there are a lot more women in the university as well. A lot of women, very established women. So I think that's great. But overall, I feel like women need to participate more. More women need to join STEM. Uh, I think that is also a trend that we see globally. So nowadays there are lots of campaigns and support organizations for women to establish their careers, to upskill, to network. So I think in the years to come, that female participation is going to improve. So um, When it comes to personal attribute, again, it's a subjective question. So for me, what I felt that I was open to learning. I was open to learning and unlearning and applying my skills and keep working at it. So the moment I feel that one stops learning, it's it's not a great thing. One stops growing, I feel. So I've been working towards, keeping on learning every day. If I get a chance, say for an hour, I learn something or the other. So right now, I am learning some courses in data science, and so in my free time, of course. So I think that was the personal attribute that helped me a lot, and I still do that every day, learning and unlearning and applying the knowledge that I've acquired. And the gaps that I used to have was that I would procrastinate. Like I would put things, I would delay things. I would think like, oh, I have this thing to do. I have that thing to do. I'll do my project later. I'd find excuses and procrastinate a bit. So that I have improved over time, but sometimes I still find it a little difficult to tackle. So those are the gaps. I think those kind of productivity kind of gaps. That's what I am improving on. So for me, luckily, I had my family members. My sister, she's a computer science engineer, and so everybody was supportive, and they encouraged me to pursue my higher degrees and my engineering studies. So my family members were my biggest. They still are my biggest support system. And in my masters also, I had a couple of friends who were very supportive, and they were always encouraging me to go with my ideas, to go with my thoughts. So I think having a support system is essential, as in any other field. So that these support systems helped me to stay rooted, and they gave me sometimes their honest opinions, sometimes encouragement, sometimes their constructive criticism or feedback. So they helped me stay rooted and reminded me that I need to keep working on myself and I need to keep improving on a daily basis. Absolutely, he is also very supportive of my dreams, my goals. He gives me enough time to do my studies on a daily basis. Sometimes I share my thoughts with him. Sometimes he gives me, like I said, criticism and feedback. And sometimes I show my research paper to him and draft to him, and he points it out that, oh, you can write this in a better way, or this image can be, you can improve this image. So all these things, you can't do all this yourself. You are too attached. I'll be too attached to the work that I do. So they give this outside perspective. So my husband has been helpful, and he puts in that effort as well. So yeah. So challenges. When I started, it was quite new to me. Many of the subjects that I studied were quite new to me. But I felt that having a coding background, having a exposure to coding and developing softwares, I think those were essential skills. They are still very essential to get some experience and to get a job anywhere. So at the time, I found it a bit challenging and a bit, those are things that I was not doing at the time when I was in school. So those were very new things for me, and I was worried like, oh, how am I going to do that, and who do I ask? And the internet and all, they didn't have a lot of courses and all when I was studying in my bachelor's classes. So at that time, those were some challenges that I was worried about. And over time, I have done courses, I have done projects, and I have improved upon that. But initially, those were the aspects that I was worried about, like whether I'd be able to finish it in time, finish a coding project in time, or having that kind of self doubt initially. So over time, I have worked on it and I have improved upon it. So now it doesn't seem like a challenge. But funnily enough, I remember telling my friends and family that in electronics, oh, there are going to be so many short forms, so many acronyms, like for example, STEM. So I don't know how I'll memorize all of that. I don't know how I'll work with that. But it was just, now looking back, it's just a funny thing to say. It's not that hard. But what I was worried about was this programming aspect. But now over time, it doesn't seem like a big challenge. So a couple of things. One is that when we don't know something, when it's just a very new alien thing to us, it just seems very very difficult. It seems very oh, I don't know how I would crack it. But when one starts, when one has put in enough time and effort to learn that, the challenge, the difficulty level slowly reduces. So that's one thing. And the second thing is that now I know where to go to look for resources. Now I know who to ask or which website I can rely on to solve any small problems that I might face. So, an awareness of these resources and experience over time. So, I think that has reduced the difficulty with this particular challenge that I thought of. I was just thinking back and looking at my past. I mean, just looking back, and I didn't really have a lot of people suggesting these kind of resources. My sister, she had a computer science background, and at the time, internet, like I said, internet was not that of a friendly, that much of a resourceful place when it comes to all this. At least I was not aware of all that. So at the time, I didn't have a lot of people or guidance on this particular matter. But like I said, it's over time you learn how to navigate all these things. And especially how I learned was interacting with other people. So I learned from others, so how they look at the problem. For example, if one wants to write a particular coding exercise on addition of two numbers, it's a very fundamental thing, fundamental problem. But if I see someone else do it in their own inherent way, then I could learn something from it. So that teamwork and collaborative kind of attitude, that was that was what really helped me to learn all these tips and tricks of this particular field. So yeah, just looking back, it gave me all these memories how I learned all these things. As we grow up within the field, when one does the specializations, we'll become more and more on our own in terms of the profession, in terms of career. So everybody will have their own set of goals and aspirations. So especially now when I'm doing this PhD program, I'm working on this problem set of problems on my own, but I have a supervisor to go back to and discuss. But still, a majority of the work is independent or on my own. So, staying motivated and staying connected to that problem, for that, motivation is very essential. So, what I do is I read books, I listen to motivational podcasts. I sometimes I just don't do anything, just recharge, just stay away from all the digital, all the mobile phones, just stay away from them, sit still. And so those things work for me. And sometimes I go to the garden, do some, make some, grow some plants or tend to the plants. It depends on person to person. So it takes time to understand what works for you and what doesn't. But for me, books, podcasts, reading, not reading fiction sometimes, not just technical stuff, just some light reading, staying connected to the family and friends, all those things help me stay motivated and get back to work with more energy. Challenges, when it comes to challenges, I feel that challenges will, it's always going to be there, especially when there is a change happening, or especially now. This is quite challenging. This whole thing that's happening around us, it's quite challenging. And because I'm at this stage, I know what upsets me, or what distracts me, or I know how to get back to my own productive day, and how to get back to my own personal, profession. But initially, when I was doing my masters, it was hard, because I didn't know what worked for me. I didn't know what affects me badly, or all that. So at the time, it was hard, because, like I said, there were not enough other female students in the classroom, and sometimes we just need that other person to just talk to. So that was hard at the time. And I remember having a bit of difficulty with peer pressure. So everybody around me, like I said, they had their own set of goals, aspirations, which is great, which should be acting as an inspiration for everyone. But for me, initially, I didn't know how to handle the peer pressure. So then slowly I learned, just to be kind to yourself, just to focus on your work, just do that, on a daily basis, and don't think a lot about, what others are doing, and all that. So to answer your question, I think that handling that peer pressure was a bit difficult, and I was also in a different city, so I didn't feel like I fit in there, all those kind of challenges. But now, over time, I have found those little things that work for me, and just nudge me for, you know to be better, to handle all these little challenges. So in my masters, a lot of the other members of my classroom, most of them were men, and I think only 8 of them out of 40 or 50 students, there were only 8 or 6 of them, 6 of us women. But that's okay. I mean, that happens. For me, what I felt difficult was, that everybody who were attending those courses, they had a lot of professional experience. So that was a very big plus point for them. And I was freshly graduated from my bachelor's, so I didn't have that kind of productivity levels that they did. So they had a 9 to 5 kind of schedule, and they would operate within that schedule, and they would get things done within those 9 to 5. So I was having those procrastination issues because I was freshly graduated, and I did have a lot of discipline and all that. But uh, having that kind of excellence, and highly performing candidates around us, for me, for a fresh graduate, it was hard to understand, and hard to adjust to a similar kind of schedule, and push out results like that. It was, like I said, it's an entirely personal thing, uh, experience to have. That was the only kind of peer pressure that I felt. But like I said, everybody had their own set of goals and professional aspirations, and I felt like I didn't fit in there at the time. So, but over time, it took maybe 6 months. Took some time to just get into that zone, and get my own aspirations get done. But initially, it was a bit challenging for me, because I was freshly graduated. I shifted to a big city, and I had this kind of a thing happening around me. So that kind of pressure was a bit too hard. Now that I think about it, I know what to do now. I know what I should be doing now. So it's, yeah, now much better. Now I can do that. Comparing, it's not the way to go. It just harms you in some way or the other. Just compare, just work on yourself. Absolutely. uh, like, for challenges that women face, again, there are like lots of challenges that women are facing in different areas. So it's getting worldwide attention as well. So of all kinds of challenges that one can imagine, like for example, in terms of their salaries, there's a gender pay gap. In terms of safety, sexism, all kinds of difficult challenges are there. And in particularly with STEM, I think the elephant in the room is the lack of participation. I would like to see more women feel the encouragement, more women feel comfortable to join a STEM career. And I wonder that, because there's some importance with the family when it comes to a woman, at a certain point, one chooses to have a child and take a leave and all that. I wonder how that will affect a woman's career. I'm hoping that it gets better, how those kind of decisions would affect their future. I hope that that doesn't have a long-lasting effect on someone. But for me, I think there's something that is pulling women back from joining STEM careers. I would like to see a lot more women feel encouraged, feel positive about pursuing their STEM goals, STEM dreams. So I think something, like I said, uh, something is hindering them from joining. Some kind of thought or some self-doubt. I don't know what it is. I would like to see a lot more women be ready to join the workforce. I think in the years to come, we'll be seeing a lot of increase in the number of women working in STEM, because women are a part of the society. I mean, all over the world, women are a huge part of the society. They have a huge role to play. So it is common sense that they should be equally represented in the science, math fields. So what happened recently, the Nobel Prize for Chemistry winners, we have some amazing women who won those prizes. So that is going to have a huge impact on younger generations of women. So even though, I mean, it just seems like it just happened recently, it's going to have a long-term impact, I feel. Every day I'm grateful to have been reached so far, and to have been exposed to all these amazing engineers, and all this, to have been part of some great projects, some great departments, some great universities. So every day I feel grateful to the education and to the experience that I have received from STEM. But specifically, if I have to pinpoint something, it's my master's graduation day, where I felt like, oh, I'm a grown-up engineer now. I have some good set of skills. I can do a lot more in the field. I can contribute a lot more. And my impact is not so nominal. It's going to be meaningful to someone. So that day, I felt like I have done something right. And that gave me a lot of joy and pride. And to graduate with fellow engineers in this great big room, and to get that degree certificate from the university director. And my father was also sitting in the audience. He was also part of the audience. So for a close family member to witness that, and that whole experience was, that humbled me a lot, and that I was very happy and proud of my work at that point. So for my final exams, when I must have been 17, uh, a lot of things actually. I would tell my 17-year-old self, but mainly to appreciate time, to have a lot of value for time, other people's time, to my teacher's time, all that, and make every day count, and just. But ultimately, hard work and working towards your goals, all those things are very, very important. Like I said, time is very important, everything is important, but ultimately I would tell myself to be, to have fun, and also be kind to yourself and others. Those are the two main values that I would remind myself, my 17-year-old self. Yeah, that's, and it's okay. Like, it's okay if you don't get a, very high. It's okay if you get great marks. That's going to open up a lot of opportunities, lot of options. But always try to work on yourself. And like I said, don't compare with others. A lot of things actually I would tell my 17-year-old self, but working hard and appreciating time. So for anyone, any of the students who are listening, I wish all of them a wonderful couple of years ahead. I know it's hard this year. Everybody is facing a challenging time. You know, it's just a new experience for all of us, all together. So you're not alone in this, and there are lots of students like you. So just focus on your studies, have some fun, but always, remember that STEM is an exciting field. You have a wonderful future ahead of you. So just don't forget that, and keep having fun, but also focus on your studies and be kind to yourself. And just, yeah, I just wish all of them all the very best for their futures and future endeavors. So yeah, that's all. Yeah. And thank you for listening to me. I hope you find something useful out of this. Uh, Good luck with all the future endeavors that you have.